Hi, I'm Emanuele Bordalo, a Brazilian journalist and master's student in international relations at King's College. In this episode, I want to take you to Lebanon, a small country on the eastern Mediterranean that has lived through decades of conflict. But this isn't a story just about war. It's a story about how war lingers in people's memories, in families, and across generations. It's about how trauma becomes something you inherit. In October 2024, a 4-year-old boy named Hussein Mikdad survived an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon. He and his father were the only survivors. His mother, his 3 siblings, and 6 relatives were all killed. Physically, Hussein recovered. He had surgery for broken bones and ended up being fine. But psychologically, he withdrew completely. He barely spoke. He started wetting the bed again. His father told the Associated Press that he never talks about his dead mother or his sibling. And that's where the story of Lebanon's invisible wounds begins. Because Hussein's story is not new. His father grew up hearing the same explosions, the same panic, the same loss. It's a cycle that started decades ago and keeps repeating itself. Lebanon's modern history is marked by war. From 1975 to the 90s, the Lebanese Civil War tore the country apart. Militias, sectarian violence, foreign invasions. Israel invaded twice during that time, in 1978 and again in 1982, this time reaching the capital, Beirut. After that, the country tried to rebuild, but peace never lasts long. There were more wars in 1996 and 2006, and most recently in 2024. Each one leaves behind destroyed buildings and generations of children growing up afraid of the sky. One of the quotes that struck me most came from UNICEF's executive director, Catherine Russell, who said, "Wars tears apart the safe and nurturing environments children need. When children are forced to endure prolonged periods of traumatic stress, the consequences can last a lifetime." A study reviewing 3 decades of research on Lebanese adolescents found that between 15 and 35% of teenagers develop post-traumatic stress disorder after the 2006 war. That's far higher than in most peaceful countries. But what's even more revealing is how the trauma carry over to the next generation. Children whose parents lived through the Civil War showed strong sentiments of anxiety and fear during later conflicts, almost as if they inherited their parents' memories. Some psychologists call this intergeneration trauma. In Lebanon, people simply say, "We are all children of war." The 2024 conflict between Israel and Hezbollah brought this pattern back into focus. According to UNICEF, more than 400,000 children were displaced. Many fled multiple times, from one village to another, searching for safety that have never lasted. In shelters across Beirut, aid workers described children who were withdrawn, anxious, and confused. One child told the reporter that every time he sees a plane overhead, he hides, convinced it's going to bomb him. It's heartbreaking, but also deeply familiar. These wars don't just affect children, they reshape families. Parents who were once children of war themselves often relive their old memories when new violence erupts. Some become overprotective, others shut down emotionally. A mother named Zion, who was 17 during the 2006 war, told the Associated Press last year, "They are hitting everywhere. Do they want to hurt our children? We are not what they are looking for." You can hear the exhaustion in her voice, the fatigue of a life spent trying to protect your children from the same fear you once knew. Maria Elizabeth Haddad from the International Medical Corps said to the Associated Press that many displaced children in shelters have become aggressive or detached. Some even develop speech problems. She called it a generation trauma, a wound that never quite heals, just shifts from one generation to the next. But it's not only war that reopens old wounds. The Beirut port explosion in 2020, for instance, which killed over 200 people, triggered flashbacks among parents who had lived through bombings in the 80s. A study published in the European Journal of Psychotraumatology found that many adults still dreamed about the Civil War. One parent said, "I thought I was over all this, but I have been having nightmares about the bombings all night long." Even without bombs falling, the sense of instability, political chaos, economic collapse, and corruption keeps people in a constant state of alert. It's like the war never truly ends. Today, nearly half of Lebanon's population shows signs of depression, anxiety, or post-trauma stress. And among young people, there is another response to all this uncertainty: the desire to live. A nationwide survey found that more than 17% of Lebanese youth would rather live abroad. Many say they feel trapped, not just by politics or economics, but by the hate of past. As the study put it, it's a generation operating mainly in survival mode. 50 years after the start of Lebanon's civil war, the country's youth still carry its echoes. They inherit memories they never lived and fear that seems to come from another lifetime. And yet, amid all of this, there is still resilience in families rebuilding again, in children life laughing again, and young people daring to imagine a future without fear. Because even trauma can be inherited, so can hope. Thank you for listening. If you found this story meaningful, please share it. And remember, for millions of children around the world, peace isn't just an absence of war, it's the beginning of healing. Until next time, take care.